Okay, we're back after hopefully fixing the glare off my mom's glasses issue. So okay, so we were talking about your dad, and you were down at the Model T up the hill on Highway 10 and all that good stuff. Yeah. So
That's,
what else do you want to tell me about your dad? Who taught you how to swim
oh,
and
oh,
dive and all that stuff?
oh. Well, like I said, my father was a competitor. And so I know I had to be the best swimmer, or I had to be the best driver, or diver. And so he loved to get um, for towns around us at this time, and he would always find a nice place where there's going to be a competing contest for swimming and diving. And I can remember, I couldn't believe it. There was a 30 foot drive up
Plat
the
platform.
diving platform. And I was so frightened because I never had diving at such a height. But when I did do my third Turner flip, I guess what they called it now, and it came out smooth as everything, and I was so proud. And my dad, of course, was delighted. But I think what the dad did, uh, has kind of driven myself a little bit because I want to be the best, but I do want to do whatever I can do and do it well. But I think the thing that my father did the best for me uh, is the music. Did I discuss that?
Yeah, we talked about that yesterday. That
Okay.
he said, "Who wants to learn how to play the violin?" And you stuck up your hand, and he's the one that actually taught you how to play the violin too, isn't he?
He did.
Yeah.
He started me. I mean, he only know the basics,
Yeah.
and so, but he did make every effort to find a good teacher for me, and I thousandly thanked for him because I, music has been one of my favorite things in life,
Mm-hmm.
and always enjoy it so much. And so did he. And I think my mother didn't have any education in music, but she was always singing. She loved to sing. I don't, and she meant hymns and simple songs like that. And she was the only one in our house that was really working, cleaning, whatever like that,
Mm-hmm.
as a household person. And she loved to uh, sing as she went along. So we kind of all got music.
Mm-hmm. So, your mother was actually 10 years younger than
That's
your
true.
father. Isn't that true? Yeah.
Yes.
And so let's talk a little bit about what was your mother's personality like, and talk about also that how all these games she knew and all these rhymes she knew that were all just in her head.
Well, um, oh, you know, that is really, really something. I hadn't thought about much about that, but my mother was perhaps the best, most loving, caring person that you would want to be. And she always was very um, a nice, uh, not a a temper, what? Personality.
Even keeled temperament kind of person.
Right, yes.
Yeah.
Like that.
Mm-hmm.
And always could seem to know what to do with each child. We were all different, of course. And but I don't know where she did it. But we had always had games inside too, and we had a lot of fun with the games that they used in their, written or other ways. But I think the thing that was so beautiful in our house was on Saturday, we had to line up for a bath, a galvanized big tub, and that was near the big stove. And then we all got in a line, and the oldest one got into the tub and washed the hair, and then
So we're talking Margaret.
be Margaret.
Yep.
And then
Lois.
Lois, and then Dorothy, and then we loved it when it came for Patty. She was a scrawny little thing, but so adorable, and then we'd all just have so much fun, taking care of getting her bath, and getting her towels out, and her hair was shiny black, and we just loved it. Oh, she's so adorable, and we'd go through this whole thing. And then, here we are in our flannel nightgowns that either, we called her Grandma Nana, and had mother didn't do much in the sewing, but so Grandma did. And
Your grandmother did a lot of sewing?
yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, with
okay.
an old singer with a pedal.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Very, very good machine.
She was a good seamstress.
Yes, and she could rip up the garments that's larger, and then cut them down for the next person. And so our clothes were cut by Grandma to do that. For the old garments would be made into another garment for the next child.
Oh, that's interesting, because I always thought about a hand-me-down as being something where the exact item is given to a person, but
Well,
it's the item, but it's retailored and maybe reshaped a little bit or whatever.
exactly.
Cool.
Yeah. And then, of course, our flannel, that come by the yard. And so they probably all had the same nightgown,
Mm-hmm.
the same way, same size.
Sure.
Okay. But this is something that's really, you probably never hear of such things today. But my mother knew so many, wonderful authors of poems, and some of them, they were so interesting. They were like stories, but they were all poems, but they told stories.
Right.
And there was one about the railroad track going to go down into the water, and somebody's going to rescue that. Or there was, the one we loved was the one of the Richter, that he he had to carry his Bible through the dark woods that night. And we all say, oh, what's next? And like we never heard it 100 times. And we'd go, oh, and then, the stories are, this is Tennyson, all the famous, the, the,
But she's
the
got all this
poets.
in her head.
And this is memorized, And then, of course, she'd go as long as we all said, you have to go to bed now, But those were our favorite things.
Yeah. So was she?
Well, I want to tell you, my mother and father were a good pair because my father loved to hunt. And so I said to my mother, well, why would you be going shooting? And my mother was shooting, just like pheasants and things like that. And she said, well, if I want to go to my husband, she says, then I'm going to learn how to shoot.
Mm-hmm.
So she could shoot and fish just as well as any man.
Yeah.
And that was
Now, she grew up in the Watertown area, like we were talking about earlier. Yeah.
Tell me.
Yeah, she graduated, I think, from Watertown High School. I remember seeing a diploma or something. But I could be wrong about that. I'll go back and do some fact checking on some. I'm just doing most of this stuff that I'm talking about off the top of my head. I don't have my records in front of me, but anyway.
Yeah, I think she told me one time that she had 1 year of college.
Yeah, I think she went to she may have gone to the university for 1 year.
Where?
Madison. I think she may have gone to, no, you don't think so?
No.
Somewhere else, maybe a normal college or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll look through records, see if we can find it out.
Mm-hmm.
So, now there's one more thing about your mother that you haven't told us about.
Okay.
Was she any good at cooking and baking?
Well, she probably is the best that anybody ever knew. I mean, of course, in those days, that was your job, your domestic part of it. And so on Monday, you wash, and Tuesday you iron, and Thursday you dust the light and probably do the cleaning. And we had nobody had what do they call it, the type of fabric.
Fabric.
Yeah, that doesn't wrinkle.
Oh, polyester. We were talking about that yesterday.
Polyester.
Yeah.
And we had a huge stove in the kitchen, and it had on one side was wood, and for the baking, and on the other side, there's about a fourth of that great big stove. That was where the hot water was.
Ah.
And then also, there are places for the flat iron, and so I don't know if you know the flat.
Sure. Yep. I know what it is.
All right. Well, you can imagine what that's like to spend a whole day ironing, because everything had to be ironed.
So when we're talking about slaving over the stove, we're talking about slaving in many different ways of bringing water in to make sure it's being heated and making sure that a flat iron, if it's an ironing day, is on the stove getting hot, being available to iron, and then you're using it for heating the kitchen, and you're also using it to cook on.
Right.
And bake.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And here we don't have any measuring oven there. It's just a hot iron.
Yeah.
Iron
Yeah.
oven. And my mother on Friday, all the neighbors could smell my mother with this bakery, and they started all enough loaves, at least 5, to be for the week, and maybe in between, and then cooking. Then it always had to be rolls, different kinds of cinnamon rolls and caramel rolls, and 2 donuts, 2 kinds of donuts. There would be the regular dough donuts and then the raised donuts. And then our neighbors had, her name was Claire Martin, and she always managed to end up on Friday to see that she got the donuts or something from my mother. And there were other people too.
Or they just stop by to, oh, hi, how's it going today? That kind of thing?
Well, I have to tell you, my mother was a gracious person. And at this time, in the time where there were, some people called them hobos, some people called them other names, but these people that came about 2 blocks from my dad's office, and ended stopping at maybe the roundhouse, or just stopped there. These flat cars were a lot of people from Chicago and cities like that would hop in and pop into these railroad cars to come to smaller towns that maybe they could find a job, or during Depression, and finding some reason to get a meal, and that was a constant thing in my house. We had an old wood porch with the rickety steps, and I can remember those hobos. What's another term?
Hobo is pretty much the generic term. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd say to my mother, "Well, then we won't have enough for our meal." And my mother always says, "There's always enough for somebody for a meal." And so my father or mother always fixed a meal, put him on stands on the steps while he had his meal. And that was such a exact picture of what the times were like.
Yeah. More importantly, what your mother was like, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she and your father lived in that house their whole life, basically.
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
And we actually did get heating.
Installed years later. Central heat.
Central heating.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I wish you could have. My husband would have loved to hear some of these things, had seen him do it, because my father was not an
Electrician?
electrician.
Yeah.
And with the lighting, we had kerosene lights at the time, and so they tried to get. He tried to get some light with a regular what we see lighting nowadays, and so when my husband and my father got together and tried to tried these wires going through our house, he'd say, "Well, wait a minute. The 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 uh, the refrigerator is out now, and then the light in the back somehouse's light is gone," and so they were having a terrible time. But we finally did get some lighting in our home.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, so let's move on to talk about, you had some other stuff that you wanted to talk about. Well, maybe kind of water back into your mom and dad a little bit more, but talk about your house. You put down 3 things that you wanted to talk about, and that was the ice box, the phone, and a cold winter. I think we already kind of talked about the cold winter, right?
Yes.
So let's talk about the phone and the ice box.
Well, I know our little wood stove, or no, our wood back porch, that had an ice box. Now, I don't know if you talk about that or not, but that was, we would come from the ice man and come on certain days, and he had a great big shawl of rubber around his shoulder, and he was carrying a great chunk of ice and put into the top of our what we called an ice box, and so the ice was put in that big cavity there, and then that's how we cooled our
Food.
milk and
Yep.
butter and things like that.
So the ice was actually on top, and
Yes.
because the cold would sink down through the.
Yes,
Interesting.
yes, yes. That old box would lift this big cover over, and then the ice would be dropped. And they brought the ice man used to come about probably twice a week,
Mm-hmm.
and the same procedure. And it was just, I don't think we ever paid any of those things.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other things that we had, we watched out for. Our milk was carried with on the back porch, and that was glass, and that was curved. It was even nice, curved.
Yeah.
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 And that was, and of course, I think nowadays, if anybody can find those,
You're not going to find glass milk bottles anywhere today.
Right, right.
I can remember them, but they're.
You could.
Oh yeah, with the pull top on the top of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and then the top was cream at the top,
Mm-hmm.
where it indented. It was pure cream, so we could whip it with whipping cream.
Mm.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So then the phone. What did?
Did you ever? Have you seen those phones?
Yeah, you mean the 2 longs and a short kind of thing?
They were wood,
Yeah.
and they were about the size of a foot. And the speaker was standing right out
Right.
like a little bell.
Right.
Uh-huh. But the thing is, when the phone was ringing, you put it on, and all the neighbors can listen.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Party
okay.
line.
Okay. Also, I don't know that was. All right. Then I think one of the things I need to tell about again was
Yeah.
the swimming. The other thing was.
We didn't do here. We got 3 things on your list that you wanted to talk about:
About the circus.
circus, Christmas candy, and swimming.
Okay. All right. All right. So, this was, circus. Now I think I don't know if the same kind of circus would be available to anybody until during my time. My father could be always could be on hand because he knew what was coming.
Sure.
So when the furnace for the when the circus was coming, much of this was being occupied by the circus in these big cars.
Train cars, yep.
The train, yeah. Not the trains, the cars. And then when that came, they had to make every a way of getting these people to the
fairgrounds or
the fairgrounds.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And so so they would line up, and the elephants would be there, and they would be they use the telephones or the elephants a lot for when they're going to get anywhere. So they make every effort to use as much of it to carry things. So they were using that, and then the horses. They used their own riders that ordinarily were going to be in the circus.
Mm-hmm.
And then these beautiful cars that came, like we see today, as antiques.
Yeah, at the museum.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. All those cars were
Right.
there.
Right.
All of them. And
Yeah.
they were so
Mom,
beautiful.
keep talking over this way so we cut down on the glare on your glasses.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. And so, all the people in the circus that had jobs, they had in some way, some animals. They'll have to pull these animals, the tigers and all those. Have to be in these wagons holding these beautiful cages.
Mm-hmm.
And then all the other people that couldn't or could halt what they could.
Mm-hmm.
And they had such a way to use every speck of energy. And so the people, you could just see all the people that are going to be in the act will be walking along the street. And then some of us, will be all dried up in their outfits to be in the circus.
Right.
To make it the attraction. But I thought just seeing all of the animals and all the people and what they're like and I guess I think we probably some of us watch what's going on and go walk to the circuit or to the fairgrounds to see what's going on, and then you could get the peanuts and all the trunks of the different animals. Anyway, I think nobody like this, you'll never do that again.
Right. The circus is gone.
It's gone.
In that way. Yeah,
Yes.
for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now it's so professional and everything done so professional.
Well, no, there are no more circus parades through towns anymore or any of that kind of stuff.
No.
But so you were literally out on your street corner and you watched the circus parade go by.
Yes.
And was this just once, or was this many times that they would come to town?
Whenever the circus came, it came that way.
Okay,
Yep.
okay. So annual or every couple of years kind of thing?
Yes.
Yeah, very cool.
Hmm.
Okay, so Christmas candy, what do you want to tell us about that?
Well, I'm getting tired. I hope I'm not just
You're
mauling.
getting too far out. So, all right, I tell you what. That's a good segue. Let's call it a stop, and then you'll put together a list of other stuff you want to talk about, and then we'll resume this next time I'm here.
Yeah.
Okay? All right. Cool.